My name is Maya, and I can see memories that don't belong to me. It started the day I moved into the old apartment on Elm Street. The landlord, Mr. Peterson, seemed eager to rent it out quickly, mentioning something about the previous tenant leaving suddenly. The rent was suspiciously low for such a beautiful place, but I was a struggling art student and couldn't afford to ask questions. The apartment was on the third floor of a Victorian house, with large windows and original hardwood floors. It felt like a place where someone had been happy once. But as I unpacked my boxes, I began experiencing flashes of scenes that weren't my own. I would touch the kitchen counter and suddenly see a woman with silver hair making Sunday pancakes, humming an old jazz tune. When I ran my hand along the bedroom windowsill, I glimpsed a man in his 50s reading by that same window, his cat curled up beside him. These weren't dreams or imagination. They felt as real as my own memories. At first, I thought it was stress from the move, but the visions became more frequent and detailed. I learned to recognize the woman. Her name was Eleanor, and she had lived here for 30 years. The man was David, her neighbour who had visited often. There was also a young couple, Tom and Lisa, who had rented the place briefly in the 1990s. The strange thing was, these weren't random memories. They were the beautiful ones. Birthday celebrations, quiet Sunday mornings, intimate conversations, moments of pure joy. It was as if the apartment had absorbed only the happiness that had happened within its walls. I mentioned this to my friend Rachel, who studied psychology. "Old places absorb energy," she said thoughtfully. "Some people believe emotional imprints can linger in locations where intense feelings occurred. But why can I see them when others can't? Maybe you're more sensitive to it, or maybe this place chose you for a reason." The idea that the apartment had chosen me felt oddly comforting rather than frightening. As weeks passed, I began to understand the memories better. Eleanor had been a retired music teacher who filled the space with laughter and song. She hosted dinner parties where neighbours became friends. David, recently divorced, had found solace in her friendship and eventually fell in love with her gentle spirit. Tom and Lisa had been newlyweds, poor but blissfully happy. I could see them dancing in the living room to music from an old radio, planning their future together. But it was Eleanor's memories that affected me most deeply. She had lived alone but never seemed lonely. She found joy in simple things, morning coffee, good books, the way sunlight moved across the walls throughout the day. Her contentment was infectious, even across time. One evening, while painting at my easel by the window, I felt her presence strongly. I wasn't seeing a memory this time. It was more like she was standing beside me, watching me work. "You have her hands," I heard, though no one had spoken aloud. I looked at my hands holding the paintbrush and gasped. They were covered in paint, just like in a vision I'd seen of Eleanor painting watercolours at this same spot, decades ago. That night, I had the clearest vision yet. Eleanor was sitting at the kitchen table, writing in a leather journal. She looked directly at me, not through me, but at me, and smiled. "I've been waiting for you," she said. "Someone who could see." See what? That love leaves traces. That happiness echoes through time. That homes remember the people who truly lived in them. I woke with tears on my cheeks and found a leather journal on my kitchen table. The same one from my vision. Inside, in Eleanor's elegant handwriting, were dozens of entries about the joy she'd found in everyday moments. But on the last page, in my own handwriting, were words I didn't remember writing. Memory is a gift we give to the future. Happiness shared becomes happiness multiplied. Continue the story. I realised then that I wasn't just seeing memories, I was being entrusted with them. Eleanor had lived such a full, joyful life in this space that she wanted it to continue. She wanted someone to understand that contentment isn't about having everything, but about appreciating what you have. Over the following months, I began hosting small gatherings, just as Eleanor had done. I invited neighbours over for dinner, turned strangers into friends. My art improved dramatically as I painted with the confidence I'd absorbed from Eleanor's memories of creative fulfillment. But the most magical thing happened when I met Mrs. Chen from downstairs. "You remind me of someone," she said when I invited her for tea. "There was a woman who used to live in your apartment." Eleanor Morrison. She was like sunshine, made everyone around her feel special. "Tell me about her." Mrs. Chen's eyes lit up. "Eleanor taught me to play piano when I was going through my divorce, said music was the best therapy. She was right. I still play the songs she taught me." Through Mrs. Chen, I met other neighbours who remembered Eleanor. Mr. Garcia, who still tended the garden she'd started in the courtyard. Young Mrs. Thompson, whose mother had been Eleanor's student and still used her teaching methods. I realised that Eleanor's influence had rippled through the building, the neighbourhood, and beyond. The memories I was seeing weren't just personal. They were part of a larger legacy of kindness. One day, David knocked on my door. He was older now, with white hair and kind eyes that looked familiar from my visions. David became a regular visitor, sharing stories about Eleanor that matched the memories I'd seen. He told me about her philosophy, that joy multiplied when shared, that kindness created echoes that could last forever. She used to say she wanted to leave something beautiful behind, he said. Not monuments or achievements, but moments, happy memories that could inspire others to create their own. Through David, I met Eleanor's great niece, Jennifer, who had inherited Eleanor's belongings, but felt too sad to go through them. Aunt Eleanor was the happiest person I knew, Jennifer said. I always wondered how she stayed so positive. She found magic in ordinary things, I said. She believed every day held the possibility for small miracles. Jennifer smiled. That sounds like her. She used to send me postcards from places she'd never been, just pictures she'd found that made her happy. Said imagination was as good as travel if you did it right. Jennifer gave me a box of Eleanor's things she thought I might appreciate. Art supplies, books of poetry, and photo albums full of dinner parties and neighbourhood gatherings. Looking through the photos, I saw faces I recognised from my visions. But more importantly, I saw the joy Eleanor had cultivated and shared. Every picture captured people laughing, talking, connecting in meaningful ways. I decided to continue Eleanor's tradition. I began hosting monthly dinner parties, inviting a mix of neighbours, friends, and new acquaintances. The apartment seemed to come alive during these gatherings, as if it remembered its purpose. During one dinner party, something extraordinary happened. Mrs. Chen was playing piano, the same songs Eleanor had taught her, when suddenly, everyone fell silent. The music seemed to fill the space with a warmth that went beyond sound. "I feel her," David whispered. "Eleanor. She's here." I felt it too, not a vision this time, but a presence, gentle, approving, grateful. The apartment itself seemed to be smiling. That's when I understood my true purpose here. I wasn't just seeing Eleanor's memories, I was continuing her story. She had created a legacy of joy and connection, and now I was its guardian. I began keeping my own journal, recording the beautiful moments that happened in the apartment. The laughter from dinner parties, the quiet contentment of Sunday mornings, the satisfaction of creating art by the window where Eleanor had painted. One evening, while writing, I felt compelled to add something at the end. For the next person who will see these memories, who will feel the love this place holds, know that happiness is not an accident. It's a choice we make, a gift we give, a story we write together. Continue the story. As I wrote these words, I realized they weren't just mine. Eleanor was still here, still teaching, still spreading the philosophy that had made her life so rich. I started leading art classes in the apartment, just as Eleanor had given music lessons. I taught my students not just technique, but Eleanor's approach to finding beauty in everyday moments. The apartment became a place where creativity flourished and friendships formed. One of my students, an elderly man named Robert, had never painted before. "I always wanted to try," he said, "but thought I was too old to start." Eleanor would have said it's never too late to discover what brings you joy, I replied. Robert became one of my most dedicated students. He painted simple scenes, his garden, his grandchildren, memories of his late wife. But his paintings radiated the same contentment I'd felt in Eleanor's memories. "This place has something special," he told me one day. "I feel different here, more hopeful. That's Eleanor's gift," I thought. She created a space where hope could flourish. The apartment continued to reveal memories to me, but now they included happy moments I was creating. I would touch the kitchen counter and see both Eleanor making her Sunday pancakes and myself laughing with friends over dinner. The memories were blending, past and present becoming part of the same beautiful story. 6 months after moving in, I received a letter from Mr. Peterson, my landlord. He wanted to check on how I was settling in. "Previous tenants never stayed long," he wrote, "said the place felt too full of someone else's life. But I had a feeling you might be different." I wrote back telling him about the community I'd built, the art classes, the dinner parties, how the apartment had taught me that happiness wasn't something you stumbled upon, but something you cultivated and shared. His response surprised me. Eleanor would be proud. She always said this place would find the right person eventually, someone who understood that homes aren't just buildings. They're repositories of love. I realised then that Mr. Peterson had known Eleanor, had known about the memories, had been waiting for someone who could see them, honour them, and continue the story she'd started. Now, 2 years later, I still live in Eleanor's apartment. I still see her memories, but they no longer feel separate from my own. We're part of the same continuum, the same ongoing story of finding joy in everyday moments and sharing it with others.
The apartment continues to attract people who need what it offers. A sense of belonging, a reminder that happiness is possible, proof that love leaves lasting traces. My art students, dinner party guests, and neighbors all contribute to the growing collection of beautiful memories these walls hold. Sometimes, late at night, I feel Eleanor's presence most strongly, not as a ghost or spirit, but as a reminder of what's possible when we choose to see life as a gift rather than a burden. I've learned that memory isn't just about the past, it's about creating moments worthy of remembering. Eleanor understood this. She lived each day as if it might become someone else's cherished memory. And maybe that's the real magic. Not that I can see the past, but that I've learned to live in a way that honors it while creating something beautiful for the future. In my journal, I continue writing the story Eleanor started. A story about how happiness shared becomes happiness multiplied, how love leaves traces that time cannot erase, and how sometimes, if we're very lucky, we find ourselves chosen to be guardians of joy. The apartment on Elm Street remembers everything beautiful that has happened within its walls. And now, thanks to Eleanor's gentle guidance, it continues to create new moments worthy of remembering. One shared meal, one art lesson, one laugh at a time. Love, I've discovered, is the only thing that grows stronger when divided. And in this magical place where past and present dance together, Eleanor's love continues to multiply, touching new lives and creating fresh memories that will, in time, guide someone new who needs to learn that happiness is always possible.